The night was cold, darker than usual, and the empty street looked like a place forgotten by every living soul. A small alien girl, no older than 8, sat on the cold concrete with her thin arms wrapped around her knees. Her skin had a soft blue glow, but the glow was weak tonight, like a dying candle. Beside her, her mother lay with her back against a broken wall, breathing slowly as if every breath hurt. They had been thrown out only an hour ago. The landlord didn't care about their sickness, didn't care about their hunger, didn't care that they had no money left. He simply opened the door, shouted at them, and pushed them outside. The door slammed behind them, and the girl felt like the world slammed with it. She had never seen her mother so weak, and that scared her more than the night itself. Cold wind blew through the empty alley, lifting old papers and dust. The girl looked around with wide, frightened eyes. She whispered to her mother, "Mama, someone will help us, right?" Her voice was soft, shaking, almost lost in the wind. Her mother opened her eyes for a moment, smiled weakly, and touched the girl's cheek. But she did not answer. She was too tired, too sick, too cold. People walked past the alley entrance from time to time. Humans, tall shapes, thick coats, fast steps. None of them looked inside. None cared. They walked like the alley didn't exist, like the girl and her mother were invisible. The girl hugged her mother tightly. "Mama, please don't sleep," she whispered. "Please don't leave me." Her small fingers trembled as she held her mother's hand. She didn't know what else to do. She had no food, no blanket, no warm place, no friends, no help. She only had hope, but even that felt thin tonight. Then she heard footsteps. Slow ones, heavy ones, not like the others. Someone was approaching the alley. The girl lifted her head. A human man entered the alley, walking as if he knew exactly where he was going. He had a tired face, messy hair, and worn-out boots. But something about him was different. He didn't walk past the alley. He walked inside it. The girl's small heart started beating faster. She wanted to hide. She wanted to run. But her legs were frozen from the cold. And deep inside, she also wanted to trust him. Something in the way he moved, something in the calmness of his steps, made her feel a tiny spark of safety. The man stopped when he saw them, a blue-skinned alien girl and her sick mother lying. On the ground, he froze. The girl froze. The world felt silent. He stared at the child with shock in his eyes. No human expected to find aliens like this, weak, cold, helpless, thrown away like trash. The girl swallowed hard. This was her last chance. Her only chance. She slowly stood up on shaky legs. Her small fingers held a torn piece of cloth around her shoulders. She took a tiny, scared step forward. The wind pushed her hair back as she looked straight into the man's eyes, and with a voice so soft that even the cold air almost swallowed it, she whispered, "Please, please help us." The man's breath caught. His eyes widened. He looked from the girl to her unconscious mother, then back at the girl's glowing eyes filled with fear and hope. He didn't move, he didn't speak, he just stared, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The girl's lips trembled. She whispered again, stronger this time, "Please, we have nowhere to go." The man slowly knelt down in front of her. The moment his eyes met hers at the same level, something changed in his face. Fear, confusion, shock, all mixed into one tense moment, and the part ends. Right there, suspended, uncertain, with one whisper floating in the cold air. The man stayed kneeling in front of the little, alien girl for a long, silent moment. Her glowing blue eyes stared into his dull brown ones, and for the first time in many months, he felt something inside his chest, something warm, something human. He didn't understand it, but he knew the feeling was real. The cold night wind brushed his face, reminding him of where he was and what he was looking at. "Who did this to you?" he finally whispered. The girl looked down. "They threw us out. We had no money." Her voice cracked when she tried to speak again, and her small hands shook. The man looked at the mother resting on the ground, her skin pale and cold. He stepped forward and touched her wrist. She was still alive, but barely. He stood up slowly, thinking. He was not a hero. He was not rich. He didn't even have enough food for himself. Helping aliens was dangerous in this part of the city. People whispered stories, warning others to stay away. But as he watched the girl shivering in the cold, he realized that walking away would make him something worse than the monsters people feared. He swallowed hard. "Can you walk?" The girl nodded, though her legs wobbled. "I'm going to help," he said. The words surprised even him. Her eyes widened a little, like a small light turning on inside her. He bent down and lifted the mother carefully. Her body was light, too light, as if she had not eaten for days. The girl followed close behind him, clutching the torn cloth around her shoulders. As they stepped out of the alley, the man looked around. The street was dark and empty. A few broken lamps flickered. A stray dog ran across the road. Far away, a group of young men stood near a burning drum, laughing and shouting. The girl noticed them and moved closer to the man. "They don't like aliens," she whispered. "I don't like them either," the man replied quietly. They walked fast, trying not to attract attention. The cold wind pushed against them, but the man held the mother tightly, refusing to let her slip. Every step felt heavier. He knew he was making a risky decision, but he couldn't stop now. The girl's whisper had tied him to them, a bond he couldn't ignore. They reached an old apartment building at the end of the street. Paint peeled off the walls and broken windows rattled whenever the wind blew. The man lived on the second floor. He pushed open the rusty door and climbed the stairs carefully, holding the mother close to him. Inside his small room, the air was slightly warmer. There was only one bed, one chair, a broken heater, and a small table. He gently placed the mother on his bed. The girl stood at the door, afraid to step in. "You're safe here," he said softly. She hesitated before entering. Her glowing eyes scanned the room like she was memorizing every detail. The man took an old blanket from the chair and wrapped it around the girl. Her shivers slowed. She watched him with wide curiosity, trying to understand why a stranger was helping them. "Why? Why are you doing this?" she whispered. He didn't answer at first. He didn't know how to explain something he barely understood himself. But then he sighed and said, "Because you asked for help." The girl blinked, surprised by such a simple answer. Before she could speak again, there was a sound outside footsteps in the hallway, slow and heavy. The man froze. The girl's eyes widened with fear. Someone stopped right outside the door. A shadow moved under the crack of light. The man stepped forward quietly, placing himself between the girl and the door. The doorknob turned, slowly, and the part ends right there. Asterisk, the doorknob twisted slowly, as if the person on the other side wanted to test the room before entering. The man stepped forward, raising one hand to signal the girl to stay behind him. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. He had lived in dangerous streets before. He knew the sound of trouble. The door opened just a crack. A single eye peeked through. Scanning the dim room, then a voice whispered, low and rough, "You brought something home, didn't you?" The man clenched his jaw. He recognized that voice. It belonged to Rig, the neighbor who spent most nights drinking in the alley. Rig was always looking for trouble, and always looking for things to sell. The man blocked the doorway with his body. "What do you want?" Rig pushed the door wider and leaned in, smelling of alcohol and smoke. "Saw you carrying someone? Blue skin." He grinned. "Aliens fetch a good price. you know?" The girl gasped softly from behind the man, and the sound made Rig's smile widen even more. The man's voice turned sharp. "Leave." Rig shrugged. "Just making sure you're not hiding anything." He stepped back, but his eyes stayed cold. "Careful, friend. People around here don't like surprises, especially alien surprises." He walked away slowly, boots thumping on the creaky wooden floor. But even when his footsteps faded, the room still felt dangerous. The man locked the door quickly. The girl looked up at him with fear in her eyes. "Who was that?" "A problem," he said quietly. "But not our biggest one." He walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside just a little. Outside, the street glowed with blue lights, not police lights, but something more strange, more quiet, more deadly. Hover drones slid slowly through the air, scanning the ground. 3 tall figures in dark armor walked behind them. Their helmets had sharp shapes, and their movements were too smooth to be human. Alien patrols. The girl's breath caught. "They found us." The man looked back at her. "Who are they?" She hugged herself tightly, her small shoulders shaking. They are hunters. They don't work for a city or a government. They work for anyone who pays. And someone paid to take me." The man frowned. "Why you?" She hesitated, then looked at her mother lying on the bed. Her mother's breathing was slow, weak. Almost fading, the little girl whispered, "My mother said, I have something inside me. Something rare. Something powerful. I don't know what it is. But they want it." The man stared at her for a long moment. He didn't fully understand her words, but he understood one thing. She was in danger, real danger. He checked the door again, making sure it was locked. Then he moved a small shelf against it. The room felt too small, too fragile. It was no longer a safe place. The girl walked to her mother and touched her forehead. "She's getting colder," she whispered. Is she dying?" The man knelt beside the mother and felt her pulse again. It was weak, very weak. "She needs medicine, warmth, food." He looked at the girl. "We can help her. But not if we stay here." The girl's eyes widened. "You want to move? Now? But they are outside." He nodded slowly. "If we stay, they'll find us. If we run, we have a chance." The girl swallowed hard. "Where will we go?" He looked around the room, thinking. He had no friends, no money, no supplies. But he had courage, the one thing he had never lost, even in the worst years of his life. "There's an old factory on the edge of town," he said. "No one goes there. We can hide until I figure something out." The girl nodded, trusting him completely. But before they could prepare, footsteps echoed outside again. Multiple ones this time, fast, heavy, coming. Straight toward the door. The man's blood turned cold. "They're here," the girl whispered. "And?" "The part ends right there." Asterisk the footsteps outside the apartment grew louder, heavier, sharper. It wasn't one person this time. It sounded like 3, maybe 4. The man grabbed the girl's hand gently but firmly. "Stay behind me," he whispered. The girl nodded, her small fingers gripping his tightly. A sudden metallic sound hit the door, a scanning device. Blue light flashed under the crack. The mother slept weakly on the bed, unaware of the danger closing in. The man looked around the room. There were only 2 choices: break the window and escape into the alley, or wait for the hunters to break down the door. Waiting was death. He hurried to the window and pushed it open. Cold night air rushed in. The alley below was narrow and dark. A fire escape ladder hung halfway down, rusty but still holding. He lifted the mother carefully and whispered, "Hold on." Then he climbed through the window. The girl followed. Halfway down the ladder, the apartment door exploded open with a deafening crash. The hunters had broken in. "Move." The man whispered urgently. The girl climbed quickly, her small feet slipping twice, but she held on. The mother's breathing was fading, and every second felt like sand sliding out of an hourglass. Behind them, a hunter looked out the window. His helmet eyes glowed with scanning lights. "They're escaping," he said in a metallic voice. The man reached the ground first, helped the girl down, then carried the mother in his arms. They ran into the alley just as a bright energy blast fired from above, hitting the wall near them and showering them with sparks. The girl screamed. "Keep running," the man said. They sprinted through the dark alley, turning left, then right, then squeezing through a broken metal gate. The hunter's footsteps echoed behind them, getting closer. The sound of a hover engine roared in the distance. The man glanced up. A hoverbike was descending, its searchlights sweeping the alleys. "They have air scouts," the girl whispered. Terrified, "I see it," he replied. Breathing hard, they ducked under an old staircase just as the searchlight passed over them. The man pressed the girl and her mother close, covering them with his own body. The hoverbike slowed, scanning the area. The hunter rider adjusted his monitor. Life signs detected, small and weak. Might be them. The man held his breath. The girl squeezed her eyes shut. The light moved away for now. As soon as the bike drifted forward, the man grabbed the girl's hand again. "We have to reach the old factory. It's the only place they won't think to check." They ran again, deeper into the ruined part of the city. The buildings became older, broken, forgotten. Rats ran along the walls. Broken pipes leaked steam. Then the girl tripped once, scraping her knee, but she forced herself to stand. "I can run," she insisted. The man felt his heart tighten with respect. She was brave, braver than any child he had ever seen. Finally, they reached the large, rusted gate of the abandoned factory. The metal sheets creaked as the man pushed them open. Inside, the building was dark and silent, filled with old machines and dust-covered floors. He laid the mother gently on a stack of old sacks. The girl stayed beside her, holding her hand, whispering softly. The man looked around, trying to find a safe corner, anywhere they could hide. But then he froze. Something caught his eye. A faint red light blinking on the far wall. A tracking beacon. His blood turned cold. "They already marked this place," he whispered. The girl looked up, fear spreading across her face. "They knew we would come here." The man didn't answer. He didn't need to, because at that moment, the factory doors shook violently once, twice. Then again, the hunters had arrived, and this time, they were not alone. The part ends here. The danger now closer than ever. The factory doors shook again, harder this time. The metal sheets rattled like they were about to rip off their hinges. Dust fell from the ceiling. Every vibration made the girl jump. She held her mother tightly, whispering, "Please, wake up. Please." But her mother didn't move. The man stepped forward, placing himself between the hunters and the two helpless aliens behind him. His breath was heavy, but his eyes were steady. He looked at the broken machines around him, metal pipes, heavy tools, long rusted chains. Nothing useful. Nothing strong enough to stop trained hunters. Another loud crash. The man turned to the girl. "Listen, when I tell you to run, you grab your mother and hide behind those crates. Don't look back. Don't stop." The girl shook her head fast. "No. If you stay, they'll hurt you. You are not alien. They don't want you." He knelt down, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Maybe, but they won't stop because of that. You asked me for help, and I'm not leaving you." His voice was calm, steady, like a man who had already decided his fate. The girl's eyes filled with tears. But they're too strong. He smiled sadly. Then I'll just have to be stronger. Before she could respond, the factory doors finally burst open. 4 hunters stepped in. Their boots echoed through the factory like thunder. Their helmets glowed red. Their armor reflected the faint light from the broken windows. These were not simple attackers. They were trained, armed, and ruthless. One of them spoke. His voice was metallic, cold, human. Step aside. You do not understand the value of the child. The man stood tall. I don't care who she is. She asked for help. That's enough. The hunters paused, almost confused. Humans rarely stood in the way of alien matters. But this one looked ready to fight an entire army alone. Move, the hunter said again, raising his weapon. The man picked up a long metal pipe from the floor. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't strong. But it was all he had. If you want her, he said, lifting the pipe, you go through me. The hunters tensed. The girl whispered, no, please, don't. The mother's weak breathing echoed behind them. Then everything exploded into motion. One hunter charged forward. The man swung the pipe with all his strength, hitting the helmet. Sparks flew. The hunter staggered for a moment, surprised by the force behind the human strike. Another hunter fired a stun blast. The beam grazed the man's shoulder, sending pain through his arm. He gritted his teeth and kept fighting. He moved fast, faster than the hunters expected. He ducked under a second attack, rolled across the floor, grabbed a fallen metal bar, and hit another hunter's leg, forcing him down. The girl watched in shock. She had never seen a human fight like this, not with strength, but with pure will, refusing to fall, refusing to give up, refusing to let fear control him. A hunter punched him, sending him crashing into a machine. Blood dripped from his lip. His vision blurred. But he got up again, staggering but still standing. You fight without purpose. A hunter said. The man wiped the blood from his chin. I fight because she needed me. The hunters prepared their weapons again. The girl screamed, stop. Please stop. But they DATN single quotes just as they aimed. A loud roar echoed outside. Engines, multiple engines. Huge lights flashed through the factory windows. The hunters turned sharply. The girl gasped. Who is that? The man didn't know. But one thing was clear. Someone else had arrived. And they weren't hiding their presence. The part ends right here. Suspense rising. Everything about to change. Asterisk bright lights flashed through the broken windows, sweeping across the factory floor like white fire. The hunters looked toward the sound, their helmets tilting in confusion. The man stepped back, breathing hard, blood running from his nose, his arms shaking from the stun hit. He didn't know who had arrived, but he knew this interruption might be the only chance they had to survive. The girl clung to her unconscious mother, her small hands shaking. Are we saved? She whispered. The man didn't answer. He didn't trust anything yet. The factory doors rattled again, but this time, not from the hunters. A deep metallic thud echoed across the factory. The hunter stepped back cautiously. Then the doors slowly opened. Not forcefully, not violently, but with control, like someone powerful wanted to make an entrance. A silhouette appeared. A tall alien woman wearing silver armor, her eyes glowing like burning stars. Behind her stood 2 alien soldiers carrying strange staff-like weapons. They were not hunters. They were something far more organized and far more dangerous. The girl gasped. They found us, but not the bad ones. These are the Guardians. The man frowned. Guardians. The girl nodded slowly. My mother told me. If anything happened, the Guardians would try to find us. The hunters raised their weapons, but the armored alien woman did not move. She simply spoke, her voice calm but strong. Step aside. The child must come with us. The man stepped in front of the girl again. No one is taking her. The guardians looked at him with surprise. One soldier whispered, "A human?" "Protecting her." The leader raised a hand, silencing him. "You do not understand," the leader said. "That child carries something powerful, something that can start a war, or end it." The girl looked terrified. "I don't want war." The woman in silver armor stepped forward. "Your mother has kept you hidden for years. She knew your power would attract enemies. Hunters, warlords, collectors. All want what you have." Her eyes softened slightly. "But your mother also knew one day your power would awaken." The girl stared at her unconscious mother. What? Power? For a moment, silence filled the factory. Then the mother suddenly coughed. Everyone froze. Her eyes opened weak, glowing faintly. She looked at her daughter, then at the human kneeling beside her. "Come closer," she whispered. The man and the girl leaned in. The mother's voice trembled, but held a strange calm. "My daughter has the light seed. A rare energy born only once in 1,000 years. If it falls into the wrong hands, destruction. If protected, peace." The man stared, confused but listening. The mother held the girl's hand tightly. "You must trust him," she whispered. "Humans. Humans can resist the light's influence. That is why I chose this world." Her eyes moved to the man. You are stronger than you know." Tears filled the girl's eyes. "Mama, don't talk. Save your strength." But the mother's breathing grew slower. "I don't have time," she whispered. "Listen, if they take you, they will make you a weapon. The hunters, the guardians, all want something from you." She looked at the man with weak but knowing eyes. "But he wants nothing. He only protects." The girl's face broke into silent tears. The mother raised a trembling hand and touched the man's cheek. "Protect her, please. She trusts you." Her hand slid away. Her glowing eyes dimmed. Her chest rose one last time, and stopped. The girl let out a soft, painful cry and buried her face into her mother's chest. The man swallowed hard, feeling something break inside him. Anger, sadness, helplessness, and a fierce new purpose. The guardians lowered their helmets slightly in respect. Even the hunters froze for a moment. Then the leader spoke again, voice sharper now. "The mother is gone. The child must come with us." The man stood up slowly. His eyes changed, and the part ends right here, just before everything erupts. Asterisk. The factory became silent after the mother's last breath faded. The girl held her, crying softly, her small shoulders shaking. The man stood beside them, fists clenched, breathing hard. Something inside him had changed. The helplessness he once felt was gone. In its place was a fire quiet, bright, and unbreakable. The guardians watched carefully. The hunters waited, ready to attack if ordered. Everyone in the room realized the same thing. The mother was gone. The girl was alone, and the next decision would decide her fate. The guardian leader stepped forward. "Human," she said calmly, "we must take the child now. Her power cannot remain here." The man did not move aside. "She stays with me." A ripple of surprise spread through the guardians. Even the hunters paused. "You don't understand," the leader said. "The girl carries the light seed. She can shape future wars." "I don't care about wars," the man replied. "I care about her." The girl looked up, tears streaking her glowing cheeks. She reached for the man's hand and held it tightly like it was the only thing, keeping her from falling apart. "She asked me for help," he said, voice steady. And I will not betray that. The hunters raised their weapons. The guardians lifted theirs in response. The air grew thick with tension. One wrong move and the entire factory would explode into chaos. The guardian leaders stared at the man, confused and fascinated. Why protect her? She is not your kind. He took a slow breath. Because she trusted me when she had nothing. And because I won't let any of you turn her into something she never wanted to be. The girl squeezed his hand even tighter. Her voice trembled. I don't want to go with them. Please don't let them take me. Those words broke the last thread holding the man's fear. He stepped in front of her, shielding her with his whole body. If you want her, he said, voice low and full of steel, you'll have to go through me. The hunters prepared to fire, but before the guardian leader could react, something happened. A soft blue glow began to shine from the girl's chest, brightening, spreading, filling the air like warm light. The guardians froze. The hunters stepped back. The girl looked down, confused and scared. What's happening to me? The leader whispered, her light seed. It's awakening. The glow spread outwards, swirling like gentle fire. It touched the man, wrapping around him like a shield. His wounds stopped hurting. His breathing steadied. The pain in his arm faded. It felt warm, peaceful, powerful. The guardians stared in disbelief. She chose the human, one whispered. The seed accepts him. The leader lowered her weapon. This changes everything. The hunters panicked. She bonded with him. That breaks the contract. She's useless to us now. The man stepped forward, still surrounded by the girl's soft blue light. Leave, he said. Not shouted. Not threatened. Just commanded, and for the first time. Everyone listened. The hunters backed away. Their helmets dimmed. They ran out of the factory without another word. The guardians didn't move at first. Then their leader slowly knelt, something rare, something meaningful. The light has chosen its protector, she said. We cannot take her now. The bond is sacred. The girl looked up at the man. Does that mean? I can stay with you. He knelt beside her. I promised your mother I'd protect you. And I will. She threw her arms around him, crying into his chest. For the first time since the cold streets, she felt safe. The guardian leader spoke once more. Human, your courage tonight has changed more than you know. The galaxy watches humans differently now. The man stood, holding the girl's hand. I don't care about the galaxy. I care about her. The guardians bowed lightly, then left the factory quietly, disappearing into the night. The man looked down at the girl. She wiped her tears and whispered the same words that started everything. Thank you for helping us. He lifted her gently into his arms. Let's go home. And together, one human and one little alien girl, they stepped out of the ruined factory and walked into a future neither of them could have imagined. The whisper that began in the cold street had changed to lives. And maybe one day, it would change the galaxy too. Asterisk.